My family accused me of stealing $12,000 from my grandmother while she was recovering from surgery. They did it in her living room. In front of my mother, my aunt, my uncle, my cousin, and the cousin who actually stole it. They said I had access to grandma's debit card. They said I helped pay her bills. They said I knew her PIN. They said if I confessed right there, they could keep this in the family. So I asked one question. If you are so sure I stole it, why haven't you called the police? Nobody answered. That was the moment I knew they did not want justice. They wanted someone convenient. My name is Marcus Hale. I was 34 when this happened. I worked as an accountant for a medical supply company in Cleveland, Ohio. Not exciting work, but I was good at it. Numbers made sense to me. Bank statements, ledgers, receipts, timestamps, reconciliations. Give me a mess of transactions, and I could usually find the story hiding inside. That skill had saved my company more than once. It also saved my name. My grandmother's name was Evelyn Hale. She was 82 years old, 5'2" on a good day, and still somehow had the authority of a woman who could make grown men sit up straight just by clearing her throat. She was not helpless. I want to say that clearly. Grandma Evelyn was sharp. She remembered birthdays, phone numbers, family grudges from 1978, and the exact amount of money my grandfather lost on a lawn mower he never should have bought. But after her hip surgery, she needed help. Not constant nursing care. Not someone hovering over her like she was already gone. Just practical support. Groceries. Prescriptions. Doctor appointments. Bills. Bank errands. The little things that start becoming big things when your body does not move like it used to. That was where I came in. At first, everyone promised to help. My mother, Karen, said she would stop by twice a week. My Aunt Denise said she would handle meals. My Uncle Ray said he would take care of repairs around the house. My cousin Brandon said, anything Grandma needs, I'm there. That one aged badly. Within a month, everyone's promises became excuses. Mom had work. Aunt Denise had migraines. Uncle Ray's back was acting up. Brandon was, between things, which apparently meant too busy doing nothing to help anyone else. So I became the one who showed up. Every Tuesday after work, I took Grandma to physical therapy. Every Friday, I brought groceries. Every other Sunday, I sat at her dining room table and helped pay bills because she hated online banking and did not trust any website that asks too many questions. She gave me her debit card sometimes when I picked up prescriptions or groceries. She gave me the PIN because she hated saying it out loud at the pharmacy. She gave me access to her utility account so I could make sure nothing was overdue. I did not ask for any of it. I just helped. That is what made the accusation so disgusting. Because they took every act of trust between me and my grandmother and tried to twist it into evidence. The meeting happened on a Saturday afternoon. My mother called and said, "Can you come by Grandma's? We need to talk about her care plan." That sounded normal enough. Grandma had been recovering well physically, but her energy was still uneven. Some days she was walking around the kitchen making soup like nothing happened. Other days, she needed help getting from the bedroom to the living room. So I went. When I pulled up, I noticed too many cars. My mother's SUV. Aunt Denise's sedan. Uncle Ray's pickup. Brandon's black Dodge Charger, which he somehow kept despite never having steady employment. That should have been my first clue. When I walked inside, everyone was already seated in Grandma's living room. Grandma was in her recliner by the window, wrapped in a blue cardigan I had bought her for Christmas. She looked tired. Not physically tired, emotionally tired. My mother sat on the couch, twisting a tissue in her hands. Aunt Denise sat beside Brandon, one hand resting on his knee like he was the one who needed comfort. Uncle Ray stood near the fireplace with his arms crossed, doing his usual impression of a man about to accuse someone of disrespect. Brandon did not look at me. That was the second clue. I said, "What's going on?" Aunt Denise answered first. "There's money missing from your grandmother's account." I looked at Grandma. She looked down. "How much?" I asked. Uncle Ray said, $12,000. For a second, I thought I misheard him. 12,000? My mother finally spoke. "Marcus, we need you to be honest." That sentence landed in the room like something dead. I looked at her. "Honest about what?" Aunt Denise leaned forward. "You had access to her card." I stared at her. "Because I buy her groceries." "You helped with her bills." Uncle Ray said. "Because nobody else would." He ignored that. "You know her PIN." I looked around the room slowly. Grandma still would not meet my eyes. Brandon sat there with his head down, rubbing his hands together like he was watching bad weather move in. I said, "Are you accusing me of stealing from Grandma?" Nobody spoke right away. That hurt more than if they had shouted yes. Finally, my mother whispered, "Marcus, you have to admit this looks bad." "No, Mom." What looked bad was that she believed it. I laughed once. Not because it was funny. Because the alternative was saying something I could never take back. Uncle Ray stepped closer. You were the one with access. Access is not theft. Aunt Denise said. Then explain the missing money. I cannot explain something I just heard about 30 seconds ago. Brandon finally looked up. His face had the careful blankness of a man trying not to look relieved too early. That was the third clue. My grandmother said softly, I told them you wouldn't. Her voice shook. I turned to her. You told them I wouldn't steal from you? She nodded. Aunt Denise cut in. Mom. Nobody wants to believe that. Then don't. I said. Uncle Ray pointed a finger at me. Do not take that tone. Or what? You'll accuse me twice? My mother said, Marcus, please. Aunt Denise's voice went cold. If you confess now, we can handle this privately. You can pay it back. Grandma does not need a police case at her age. There it was. They had already written the ending. I confess. I repay. They keep it quiet. Everyone gets to say the family handled it. Except I had not stolen anything. I looked at Uncle Ray. You said $12,000 is missing? Yes. From which account? He hesitated. Her checking. Over what time period? Aunt Denise said. Does that matter? I almost smiled. Yes. It matters a lot. Uncle Ray said. About 3 months. I nodded. Good. Good? My mother asked. I looked at every person in that room. You thought you cornered a thief. You actually gave an accountant a starting number. Then I turned to Grandma. I did not take your money. Her eyes filled. I know. That was enough. For her, I stayed calm. For everyone else, I left before I said too much. Uncle Ray called after me. Running away does not make you innocent. I stopped at the door. No. Evidence does. Then I walked out. I did not drive home immediately. I sat in my car with both hands on the steering wheel and tried to slow my breathing. I had been angry before. At work. In traffic. With family. But this was different. This was insult layered over betrayal. They had accused me of stealing from the woman whose trash I took out, whose prescriptions I picked up, whose bills I paid while everyone else posted heart emojis and called that support. Everyone loved Grandma loudly. I helped her quietly, and somehow that made me the easiest person to blame. When I got home, I opened my laptop. The first thing I did was pull up Grandma's online banking. I still had access because I was the one who set up her account alerts after her surgery. I downloaded 3 months of statements. Then 6. Then 12. I created a spreadsheet. Date. Transaction type. Amount. Location. Merchant. Notes. That is when the shape of it started appearing. At first, the withdrawals were small. $40. 60. 80. ATM withdrawals. Gas station charges. Convenience store purchases. Then they grew. 200. 300. 500. Always spread out enough that a casual glance would not catch the full pattern. $12,000 does not always disappear in one dramatic theft. Sometimes it leaves in pieces. Quietly, like a house losing heat through cracks. I filtered by ATM location. 3 locations repeated. One near Grandma's pharmacy. One near a gas station on Brook Park Road. One 2 blocks from Brandon's apartment. I sat back. There it was. Not proof yet, but a direction. I pulled my own records next. Work badge logs. Calendar events. Google location timeline. Email timestamps. Text messages. Several withdrawals happened while I was physically at work. One was at 1:12 p.m., on a Wednesday. I was in a quarterly budget meeting from noon to 2, and my badge showed I entered the conference floor at 11:57. Another withdrawal happened at 8:43 p.m., near Brandon's apartment while I was at Grandma's house fixing her garbage disposal. I had texts from Grandma thanking me at 9:10. One gas station purchase happened while I was at a Guardians game with coworkers. There were photos, tickets, receipts. My family had made one major mistake. They forgot I do numbers for a living. By midnight, I had a preliminary timeline. By 2 a.m., I had a pattern. By 3 a.m., I had Brandon's name written beside 7 transactions. But patterns are not enough. People like Brandon survive on plausible deniability. I needed proof. The next morning, I called Grandma. She answered on the 3rd ring. Hi, sweetheart. Her voice sounded small. That made me angrier than the accusation. Grandma, I need to ask you something. Did Brandon borrow your card? A pause. He asked for a little money sometimes. How much is a little? 20 here. Maybe 50 once. Did you ever give him your debit card? No. Did he know your PIN? I don't think so. That was not a no. Grandma. She sighed. He was with me once at the pharmacy. I may have said it too loud. I closed my eyes. Okay. He said he was struggling. She said. I didn't want Denise yelling at him. Of course. Even Grandma had been trying to avoid Denise's noise. Did Brandon ever ask you not to tell anyone? A longer pause. Yes. What did he say? That his mother would overreact. That he would pay me back. My hand tightened around the phone. Did he? No. I wrote that down. Then I asked, can I come over later? Just you and me? Yes, she said. When I arrived, she had tea ready. Grandma was old school that way. Your family could accuse you of theft in her living room, but if you came back the next day, there would still be tea. She looked embarrassed. That bothered me. She had nothing to be embarrassed about. I sat across from her at the kitchen table. I need your permission to talk to the bank, I said. We need to open a fraud inquiry. Her face tightened. Police? Not yet. First the bank. But Grandma, if someone stole from you, we cannot fix it by pretending. She looked toward the window. I do not want Brandon going to jail. That told me she already knew. Maybe not with proof. But somewhere inside, she knew. I said gently, I do not want innocent people accused. She looked at me then. Her eyes filled. I'm sorry. You did not accuse me. I did not stop them. That hurt because it was true. But it was also not the same thing. You were outnumbered in your own living room, I said. That ends now. She reached across the table and took my hand. You helped me without making me feel like I was already gone. I had to look away for a second. That was the thing I had never been able to explain to the family. Grandma did not need people to take over her life. She needed help keeping control of it. There is a difference. The bank call took almost an hour. The representative was professional. Careful. She explained that because some of the disputed transactions involved ATM withdrawals, there might be camera footage. They could not simply send it to us directly. But they could flag the transactions, start a fraud claim, and provide documentation to law enforcement if needed. Grandma authorized me to help. We listed the transactions she did not recognize. The bank representative paused at one point and said, there are still images associated with some ATM activity. My pulse slowed. Can you tell us whether the person in the image is my grandmother? No. Can you tell us whether it is me? She paused. I cannot identify anyone officially. But I can tell you the person visible does not appear to match the account holder's age or gender. Grandma closed her eyes. The representative continued. To proceed further, a police report may be necessary. There it was. The line between suspicion and action. Grandma whispered, not yet. I respected that. For one day. That evening, Aunt Denise texted me. Mom says you're digging through Grandma's accounts. If you're innocent, why are you acting guilty? I replied. If I were guilty, I would not be building a timeline. She did not respond. Uncle Ray called twice. I let it go to voicemail. His message was predictable. You need to come clean before this gets uglier. You do not want police involved. I saved it. That voicemail became useful later. The next step was Brandon. Not confronting him. Watching him. I went through his public social media. People like Brandon always leave breadcrumbs because attention matters more than caution. 3 ATM dates matched nights when he posted from bars nearby. One withdrawal happened 40 minutes before he posted a video at a sports bar, waving a stack of cash at the camera like a magician with unpaid rent. Another debit charge matched a convenience store visible in the background of one of his Instagram stories. Then there was the hoodie. A black hoodie with a white logo on the chest from a local boxing gym. Brandon wore it constantly. In 3 photos. 2 videos. And, according to the bank representative's careful description, the ATM still image showed a younger male wearing a dark hoodie with a light-colored chest design. Not proof enough for court. Enough for me. I printed everything. Screenshots. Bank records. Work logs. Maps. Timestamps. Grandma's statement. Then I called my mother. I want another family meeting, I said. She sounded relieved. Oh, thank God. Marcus, we can fix this. Yes, I said. We can. I did not tell her what that meant. The second meeting happened the following Sunday. Same living room. Same people. Same furniture. Different game. Grandma sat in her recliner again, but this time I sat beside her instead of standing near the doorway like a defendant. That bothered Denise immediately. She said, what is this? I placed a folder on the coffee table. The truth. Uncle Ray snorted. Ready to admit it? I looked at him. That is exactly why I'm here. Brandon went very still. Good. I opened the folder. Over 3 months, $12,000 was removed from Grandma's checking account through ATM withdrawals, debit purchases, and online charges. The family accused me because I had access to her card and helped pay bills. Aunt Denise crossed her arms. You did? Yes. For groceries, prescriptions, and utilities. All documented. Every legitimate transaction has a receipt, text confirmation, or matching appointment. I slid the first sheet forward. Now let's talk about the missing money. Uncle Ray said, Do not make this a presentation. I'm an accountant, Ray. This is how we show affection. Grandma made a small sound that might have been a laugh. I continued. Withdrawal on April 7th, 1:12 p.m. ATM on Brook Park. I was at work in a budget meeting. Badge logs attached. Calendar invite attached. 3 witnesses if needed. I placed the documents down. Withdrawal on April 19th, 8:43 p.m. ATM near West 54th. I was at Grandma's fixing her garbage disposal. Text from Grandma at 9:10 thanking me. Another sheet. Debit purchase on May 3rd, gas station near Brandon's apartment. I was at a baseball game with coworkers. Ticket receipt and photo attached. Brandon looked down. Aunt Denise said, "Lots of people live near those places." Correct. I slid forward a map. That is why I looked for patterns. Denise's face tightened. I continued. 7 disputed transactions happened within 2 miles of Brandon's apartment. 4 happened within 1 hour of Brandon visiting Grandma. 3 purchases match locations Brandon posted from on social media. Brandon said, "That does not prove anything." First words he had spoken. His voice cracked slightly. I turned to him. "You're right. It does not prove everything." I pulled out the screenshots. "But it suggests a lot." Aunt Denise stood up. "You are not going to sit here and accuse my son." I looked at her. "You were comfortable accusing me. That was different." "How?" She had no answer. I pulled out the final page. The bank confirmed there are ATM still images. Because Grandma has now authorized a fraud claim, and because police may be involved, those images can be reviewed officially. Brandon's face changed. Not fear exactly. Calculation. I turned the page around. It was not the official bank footage. Not yet. It was Brandon's Instagram photo wearing the black hoodie. Then another. Then another. I said, so Brandon should have no problem explaining why the person visible at one ATM is described as a younger male wearing a black hoodie with a light-colored chest logo, the same kind he wore in these photos during the same week. Aunt Denise shouted, "That could be anyone." I looked at Brandon. "Then say it." He did not. Grandma's voice cut through the room. "Brandon." Nobody moved. She leaned forward slightly. Her hands shook on the arms of the recliner. "Tell me you didn't." Brandon stared at the floor. "Grandma, I was going to pay it back." The room went silent. There it was. Not a denial. A confession wearing a cheap coat. Aunt Denise grabbed his arm. "Brandon. Stop talking." He looked at her. Panicked now. I was. I just needed time. Grandma's face changed in a way I hope I never see again. It was not just hurt. It was humiliation. Being stolen from is awful. Being stolen from by someone you fed, hugged, and defended is worse. I stood up. Aunt Denise immediately started crying. Not for Grandma. For Brandon. "He made a mistake," she said. I laughed. I could not help it. A mistake? Uncle Ray, who had wanted my confession badly enough to threaten police, suddenly became the voice of family unity. "Let's not make this worse." I looked at him. "You were ready to call the police when you thought it was me." He flushed. "That was before we knew everything." "No," I said. "That was before you knew it was Brandon." My mother finally spoke. "Marcus, Grandma cannot handle a police case." I turned to her. She handled being accused of letting me steal from her pretty well. Mom flinched. "Good." Brandon stood. I was desperate. "No," I said. "Desperate is asking. Theft is taking." I was going to pay it back. "You were going to let me take the blame." He had no answer. Aunt Denise said, "He is family. So is Grandma." That shut the room down. For one beautiful second, nobody had anything to say. Then Grandma spoke. "Marcus." I looked at her. She was crying now, but her voice was steady. "Call them." Aunt Denise gasped. "Mom, no." Grandma looked at her daughter. "You wanted police when you thought it was Marcus." Denise burst into tears. Brandon started begging. "Grandma, please. Please. I'll pay it back, I swear." Grandma closed her eyes. "You stole from me and let me look at Marcus like maybe he had done it." That was the real crime to her. Not just the money. The doubt. The crack in trust. I stepped into the kitchen and called the police. The officer arrived 40 minutes later. Aunt Denise tried to control the story immediately. "It's a family misunderstanding," she said. The officer looked at Grandma. Grandma said, "It is theft. I helped provide the documentation." Bank records. Grandma's statement. Brandon's admission in front of everyone. Uncle Ray suddenly remembered he had somewhere to be. The officer told Brandon he needed to answer questions carefully and that this could become a criminal matter. Brandon looked at me like I had betrayed him. That almost made me laugh. People like Brandon think consequences are betrayal because they have been protected from them too long. The bank investigation moved forward. The official footage came through law enforcement and the bank's fraud department. It was Brandon. Clear enough. Same hoodie. Same posture. Same face. Because the idiot looked directly at the ATM camera during one withdrawal like he was checking his hair. The bank restored some funds quickly. Others took longer. Some purchases were harder to recover. Brandon eventually faced charges and a restitution order. I will not pretend it was instant justice. Real life is slower and uglier than stories. But it became official. Written down. No longer a family rumor. No longer a living room accusation. A police report. A bank file. Evidence. Aunt Denise blamed me, obviously. She sent a text the day Brandon was formally charged. You destroyed his future. I replied. He used Grandma's money to destroy his own. Then I blocked her. Uncle Ray left me a voicemail saying I had gone too far and that families should handle things internally. I saved it, sent it to my mother, and wrote, he wanted police when he thought I did it. Remember that. She did not reply for 2 days. When she finally called, I answered. I do not know why. Maybe some part of me still needed to hear her say it. She said, I'm sorry. I waited. Marcus, I should have defended you. Yes. Everyone said it looked bad. Did you think I stole from Grandma? Silence. That was the last door closing. Mom. Her voice broke. I didn't want to. That was no defense at all. I felt something in my chest go cold. You raised me. I said. You know me. I was the one showing up every week. And when Denise pointed at me, you looked down. She started crying. I was overwhelmed. No. Grandma was overwhelmed. You were cowardly. She gasped. I had never spoken to my mother like that before. Maybe I should have. Marcus. I need space. For how long? I don't know. Please don't cut me off over this. I am not cutting you off over this. I am stepping back because when I needed one person to say, Marcus would never steal from Grandma, you couldn't do it. She whispered, I'm sorry. I know, but sorry does not always repair what silence breaks. After that, I focused on Grandma. We changed everything. New bank account. New debit card. New PIN. Fraud alerts. Daily balance notifications. Auto pay for utilities. Limited cash withdrawals. A trusted elder law attorney helped set up a financial power of attorney with safeguards. Not just me. A backup. Monthly statements. No single person with unchecked access, because I wanted Grandma protected even from the appearance of another accusation. That mattered to me. I did not want control. I wanted safety. Grandma appreciated that. She said, you still trust me? I said, of course. She shook her head. No. I mean after I let them accuse you. I sat beside her at the kitchen table. You were scared. I was weak. You were outnumbered. She looked at me. Do not excuse me just because I am old. That was Grandma. Still sharp. Still fair. I said. Okay. Then yes. It hurt. She nodded. I know. But I know who tried to stop it from the beginning. She looked down. I should have been louder. Maybe. She reached over and squeezed my hand. I will be now. And she was. When Aunt Denise tried to visit, Grandma refused unless I was there or another trusted person was present. When Brandon wrote a letter apologizing and asking to talk, Grandma read the first line, folded it back up, and said, he is sorry he has court dates. When Uncle Ray complained that I had turned Grandma against the family, she called him herself and said, no, Raymond. I found out who was already using me. I wish I had recorded that. It was beautiful. The family split after that. Some relatives stopped talking to me. That was fine. They were the relatives who thought peace meant no one ever named the thief. A few apologized quietly. That was fine too, though I noticed how many waited until the truth was undeniable before finding courage. My mother and I became distant. Not dramatic, not screaming, just distant. She texted on holidays. I replied politely. She asked to meet for lunch. I said maybe and then did not schedule it. She sent a card on my birthday that said she loved me and missed me. I believed her. I also remembered her silence. Both things can be true. That is one of the hardest parts of growing up in a family that hurts you. You eventually learn people can love you and still fail you so badly that love no longer has much practical value. Brandon's case dragged on. Restitution. Probation. I record. Aunt Denise said he would never recover. Maybe he will. Maybe he will not. That is not mine to manage. For years, Brandon had been treated like a storm everyone else had to board windows against. If he damaged something, someone cleaned it up. If he took something, someone replaced it. If he lied, someone translated it into pain. This time, nobody translated. He stole from an old woman recovering from surgery. He let her family accuse the grandson who helped her. Then he cried when proof made him visible. That is not tragedy. That is accountability. A year later, Grandma was doing better. Still using a cane. Still stubborn. Still refusing to switch from paper calendars to her phone because, in her words, I have survived 83 years without letting a rectangle tell me where to be. I still visited every Friday. Groceries. Bills. Dinner. Sometimes we watched old game shows and yelled at contestants who made bad decisions. One evening, she asked if I regretted calling the police. I thought about it. No. Not even because of the family? I looked at her. Grandma, they were ready to call police on me. Her mouth tightened. I know. That answered the question before I ever picked up the phone. She nodded. Then she said, Cruel was not calling the police. I looked at her. She continued, Cruel was stealing from me and letting you stand there alone. I had to look away. Because she was right. People love to use family as a reason to avoid consequences. But family should have been the reason Brandon did not steal. Family should have been the reason Denise questioned him before accusing me. Family should have been the reason my mother defended the son she knew. Family should have been the reason Uncle Ray kept his mouth shut until he had facts. Instead, family became a word they used when they wanted me quiet. I am done being quiet for people who only value silence when it protects them. They accused me because I was convenient. Because I had access. Because I was the dependable one. Because they thought I would absorb the shame, repay the money, and keep showing up next Friday with groceries like nothing happened. They were wrong. I kept the receipts. I built the timeline. I found the pattern. I showed them the footage. I called the police. And I stopped being the family's safest person to blame. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you really like our videos, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day.